First, I would like to congratulate you for passing the first quarter in social studies. And to begin our second quarter, our lesson will be the Spanish colonization. And we are going to focus on the sword and the cross. Are you ready? Let's start. We need to look at three questions that we should ponder in discussing this lesson. First, can you describe Magellan's voyage until he reached the Philippines? What do you understand by the cross as a means of conquest? And lastly, can you describe the status of the Filipino women before the Spaniards came? Hmm, any ideas? We are going to look into the cross as a means of conquest, and let us focus on the saints during that time. But for this day, we are going to look into the sword as a means of conquest during the Spanish colonization, and it begins with God, gold, and glory. Spain's aim in colonizing overseas lands was motivated by three G's: God, gold, and glory. Its primary aim was the propagation of the Catholic faith. Thus, every expedition of discovery, exploration, and conquest was accompanied by Christian missionaries. Its second aim was the desire for gold or economic wealth arising from the struggle among European powers to monopolize the spice trade in Asia and to acquire riches. At that time, as it still is today, material wealth was a measure of greatness among nations. The Spade's third aim mirrored its ambition to become the greatest empire in the world. Spain sent out several expeditions in search of new colonies. For some time it experienced success in achieving its aim, but its fame and glory did not last for long. It did not attain the wealth it had aspired to. Its power declined in the 19th century. Another aim of Spain is to acquire wealth because it is the power of a country. They are also eager to establish trade and colonization because it makes their country more powerful. Do you remember this man on our first lesson in social studies? Because of him, the Philippines was rediscovered, and that happened on March 16, 1521, under the leadership of Ferdinand Magellan. Magellan had three definite objectives in rediscovering the Philippines: to find the Spice Island, to prove that the earth was round, and to spread the religion of Christianity. Ferdinand Magellan is a Portuguese explorer under the service of the Spanish crown, and he was looking for a westward route to the Spice Islands of Indonesia. He had been to India, Moluccas, and North Africa. Magellan's journey started at 1521. He left Spain with 265 men aboard five ships, namely Trinidad, the flagship, San Antonio, Concepcion, Victoria, and Santiago. Of these ships, only three reached the land after the crossing of the wide Pacific Ocean, and on March 16, 1521, the men on the three ships sighted the tall mountains of Samar, sailed toward their direction, but landed in the islands of Homonhon. Magellan and his men were met by natives aboard a boat. The men gave the Spaniards baskets of bananas, fish, coconut, and palm wine as a sign of their welcome. In turn, Magellan gave the men hats, mirrors, and some other items. Let us look into Lapu-Lapu's contribution in the Philippine history. On March 1521, Magellan arrived in Homonhon Island, and they were successful in spreading Christianity. That's why in April 1521, the baptism of hundreds of Filipinos in Cebu and Queen Juana gave an image of the Santo Niño Jesus as a symbol of her conversion. Most of the chieftains of the islands near and around Cebu welcomed Magellan. Only Lapu-Lapu, ruler of Mactan Island, refused to do so. On April 1521, there was a battle between Magellan and Lapu-Lapu. Magellan died, and this time he and his men returned to Spain aboard their remaining ship, the Victoria. They arrived in Spain on September 6, 1522. Even with Magellan's death, his voyage has proven that indeed the world is round. One of the mastership of the captains that was able to return back to Spain was Juan Sebastian de Elcano. He is the master of ship Concepcion, and he also captained the ship Victoria back to Spain after the death of Magellan. Another captain is Alvaro de Saavedra. He reached the Philippines at 1527. He wanted to go to Cebu and find the remaining Spaniards, but because of strong winds, he was driven away and died also while returning to Spain. Despite the failures, the King of Spain ordered Mexico, one of its colonies, to prepare the fourth expedition to be headed by Ruy Lopez de Villalobos, who is a Spanish explorer. The expedition left Spain in 1542. After a pleasant trip across the Pacific Ocean, Villalobos reached Mindanao, which he named Caesarea Caroli, in honor of King Charles I. Finding little food in Mindanao, he sailed into Sarangani, where he named the entire archipelago Las Islas Filipinas in honor of young Philip II, the future King of Spain that time. About the same time, another expedition headed by Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, a Spanish expedition commander, was being prepared. In 1564, Legazpi left Spain for the Philippines and sailed to Guam. In 1565, he landed in Cebu Island, where he was met with resistance by the Cebuanos. He made a blood compact with the chieftain Datu Sikatuna as a sign of friendship. He established a new settlement and built a new church for the Augustinians' fathers. Legazpi named the settlement the City of the Most Holy Name of Jesus in honor of the image. The settlement is now the oldest city in the Philippines and is called Cebu. This day we learned about the sword as a means of conquest. On the next day we are going to talk about the cross as a means of conquest, wherein we will focus on the impact of the saints in the Filipino lives. Did you learn something today? I hope you do. If ever you have questions, feel free to message me or leave a comment on the comment section below. Thank you so much, Grade 4, and God bless you.